Page 2 of the Notice of Filing Child Support Guidelines Worksheet requires you to begin filling out the Child Support Guidelines Worksheet. Subsection 1 of the worksheet requires you to enter the present net monthly income of both the mother and father of the child or children who are at issue in your case. You will be able to find this amount from line 27, section 1 of the Florida Family Law Rules of Procedure Form 12.902B or C, the financial affidavit for both parties. Once you are able to locate the present net monthly income for each party, make sure to put it in the appropriate spot provided under row 1 and below column A and column B for the parties. Once you have entered both present net monthly incomes, make sure to total those incomes together on the right-hand column, which is labeled Total. In subsection 2 of the worksheet, you must enter the number of minor children that are in common to the parties. Using the total amount from line number 1, you must then enter the appropriate amount from the Child Support Guidelines chart. This chart is available online if you search for Child Support Guidelines for the state of Florida. Make sure to enter the appropriate amount in the total column. This total amount in line 2 represents the amount of support that your child or children are owed as determined by the state of Florida. This amount does not reflect how much child support will be paid, but rather is a number that shows how much support the child or children is owed from both parents total, as determined by the state of Florida. Subsection 3 of the worksheet requires you to divide the percentage of financial responsibility between the two parties. The total percentage, when added up between column A and column B, should equal 100%. In order to find out the percentage of financial responsibility for each party, you must divide the amount on line 1A by the total amount on line 1 to determine the percentage of financial responsibility for the father. Make sure to enter this percentage in line 3A where provided. Similarly, in order to determine the percentage that must be entered in line 3B, you must divide the amount on line 1B by the total amount on line 1 in order to determine the percentage of financial responsibility for the mother. Make sure that both of these percentages are entered in and that both percentages added together equals to 100%. In subsection 4, you will now be able to determine the monthly obligation for each party. In order to determine the father's share of the basic monthly obligation, you must multiply the number on line 2 by the percentage on line 3A. You must then enter in this number in line 4A. Make sure that if you are multiplying one number by the other as a percentage, you should ensure that the percentage number is a decimal in order to get an accurate amount. Similarly, in order to determine the mother's share of the basic obligation for the minor child or children in common to the parties, you must multiply the number on line 2 by the percentage on line 3B in order to determine the mother's share of the basic monthly obligation. And make sure to enter this answer on line 4B. The two numbers in line 4A and 4B should add up to the amount stated in line 2. If it does not, you may have miscalculated, and it will be difficult for the court to determine the correct amount of child support. Now, subsection 5 of the Child Support Guidelines worksheet begins to address additional support obligations. Subsection 5 specifically refers to monthly child care costs and monthly child or children's health care costs. Subsection 5A requires you to list the total amount of monthly child care costs. That is 100% of the amount paid every month for child care must be entered in the total column provided. Child care costs should not exceed the level required to provide quality care from a licensed source. Subsection 5B requires you to enter in the total monthly child or children's health insurance cost. This amount should only reflect what is actually paid for health insurance for the minor child or minor children. This number should not include any amounts paid for any adults who may be under a similar plan, such as a family plan. If there is a family plan which covers multiple individuals, some of them children, some of them not, make sure to make a determination by looking at the health insurance plan to determine how much is actually spent to provide health insurance for the minor child or minor children. Once you're able to determine that specific amount, that is the amount that should be put into the total column under subsection 5B.